Oversight. This as the region gears up for more workers on their way. A live look at that gorgeous sunset. It really felt like spring today. Sunshine, temperatures above zero, but the sun will be replaced with some rain over the next couple of days. Colette Kennedy will join us later in the program for your full weekend weather. Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Chris is away. We begin tonight with a man in Belle River who plans to fight a fine of nearly $4,000 that he received at the Detroit Windsor Tunnel. He runs a construction company that's currently building a grocery store in Michigan. But despite having no issues crossing in the past, Canadian border officials now disagree with his claim of being an essential worker. The CBC's Sanjay Maru has been on this, and he joins me now live from outside the tunnel. Sanjay, what exactly happened there?
Well, Katerina, as president of that construction company, Ron Roos normally works from home, but says he crosses the border about once every 2 weeks to attend work sites whenever necessary in person. Normally, no issues when crossing, but that all changed Tuesday. He says on that particular day when he tried to get back into Canada right here through the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel, he was told by officials at the border that his travel in was non-essential because he doesn't cross the border every day. Now, Roos disagreed, saying that the nature of his work is essential, building grocery stores in the States. But when he was pulled into secondary, Roos was given two options: either go to the U.S., go back into the U.S., get a test for COVID-19 and come back to the border here with a negative result, or drive straight to Toronto and quarantine in a hotel there for 2 weeks. Roos denying both of those options, leading to that $3,800 fine. But in my interview with Roos, he tells me that determining who is and is not essential based on how frequently they cross the border just does not make sense whatsoever.
So somebody could build up 3-4 weeks of vacation like a nurse and go there, and they say you haven't traveled in 4 weeks. You're not going every day. You're not essential anymore. So there's really lack of clarity. And if their intent was to stop the travelers from coming back, and I hope to keep the intent with the travelers, not the essential workers.
So Sanjay, clearly a lot of confusion around this condition of frequency of travel, but just how widespread of a concern is this?
Well, Katerina, today we heard from both a cross-border attorney and a local MP, both saying they fielded a number of calls from people like teachers, nurses, business people, all saying they faced similar situations as Roos here at the border. And the CBSA also confirming to me that the frequency of travel does carry weight on whether or not a person will be deemed essential or not. Take a look at this quote, the CBSA telling me today that the traveler must cross the border regularly to go to their normal place of employment and demonstrate a regular pattern of travel, which is generally defined as daily or weekly. But that cross-border attorney I spoke with, Katerina, says she was worried that this rule could do more harm than good.
This person is essential. They're only going once a week, as opposed to what people are hearing at the border saying, well, you're not needed every day, so therefore you may not come. Well, do you know what the counter effect of that is? People are now saying, well, I'm now going to go into the US every day to make sure that my permit is valid, to make sure that I'm not quarantining. So it is counterintuitive.
And Katerina, as for that construction company president we heard from earlier, Ron Roos, he tells me that if crossing the border continues to be a problem, he'll consider a temporary move to the U.S. from his home in Belle River just to continue running his business.
Thanks for this, Sanjay. The CBC's Sanjay Maru reporting live from the border. After many begged for Windsor police to carry naloxone, police today say all officers will soon be equipped with it. Advocates say that this is good news, but it was a long time coming. CBC's Dan Takema reports.
I think it should have been approved a long time ago. We've lost a lot of lives this year. We've lost a lot of lives just in the past few weeks.
For Lisa Valente, news that all Windsor police officers are going to start carrying naloxone is something to celebrate. But she says for many, it comes too late. For years, advocates have been pushing for all police to start carrying the drug, which can reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. Today, Windsor's mayor announced the police chief has decided all officers should have it.
I know the chief, talking with her yesterday, this is the right time to say we can no longer make a discrete decision that this has to be available to all officers. And we've always said this will be a data-driven decision and that these changes will happen as the facts change. And guess what? The facts are changing.
What's changed? A COVID-19 outbreak that's turned the city's aquatic center into an isolation center for people experiencing homelessness. The mayor says various units will be working there and each needs to have naloxone. The president of the Windsor Police Association says Windsor will be among the last large services to carry it.
It's a peace of mind now that we have this tool with us that hopefully we don't ever have to use, but if we do, it's there. This is a good decision. I commend the chief for finally making a decision to equip all officers. It's a good day.
Advocates like Valente say having police with naloxone will make a difference.
Just one life. I mean, even if an officer just saves one life, that one life is, your son, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, your mother, your father.
Windsor's health unit issued a community alert earlier this month after 22 emergency room visits involving fentanyl in 1 week. 16 were overdoses. There's no clear date when police will start to carry the life-saving drug. Dan Takema, CBC News, Windsor.
CBC Windsor is highlighting people in Windsor, Essex who have continued to physically go into work throughout the pandemic. They've allowed us to take a peek into their work lives and share what the past year has been like for them. Today, we're taking a look at someone who works on the border between Detroit and Windsor.
Well, first thing I come in the morning, I've got to get ready, and that used to just be as quick as easy as getting on, our protective vest, our Kevlar vest, and our what we call our tools, and then of course now making sure I have a mask on, and probably before I even get to an assigned work location, I've probably sanitized my hands a few times. One of the things that's changed in the job is you have to speak up a lot when you're wearing a mask, and it's a common tendency instantly for a traveler to pull their mask down to talk to you. So a lot of times, oh no, keep your mask on. Just speak up for me, please. And we see on a daily basis, myself included. I have relatives that live in Michigan, and I haven't seen them for close to a year now. And the travelers that attempt to come through or come through, you can see that it's not so easy now to cross the border to see family, and that's definitely that's a heartache for sure. There's a lot of ups and downs there. So just having to go to work, right? That in the last year, that's been a challenge at times, and with the unknown, especially at the start of the pandemic, with a lot of the unknowns, there was a lot of scary times there when we just didn't know the extent of the pandemic. But as time's gone on, I'm thankful that I get to go to work. It's good to get out of the house, I guess, as I hear a lot of people are cooped up at home.
You can find more personal stories from those who weren't able to work from home during the pandemic. You can find it all on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. A Windsor publisher says he's been having trouble advertising his latest book on Facebook. It's called On Property, and it explores themes of Black history, social justice, and abolition.
We're a small business, but we spent about $3,500 in the last year just on Facebook ads. We've never had an experience like this before. So we normally can figure things out. Even if things are rejected, we can figure out a way to make it work within their system, and there just seemed to be no way to get this ad past their monitors.
Wells tried half a dozen times to promote the book. He says the social media giant rejected the ad each time without an explanation. After CBC looked into the issue with Facebook, the social media company sent us a statement saying these ads were incorrectly disabled and have since been restored. Now, we did have some technical difficulties last night when we were speaking with Asha Tomlinson, who was guest hosting The Fifth Estate. She's also the former host of CBC Windsor. The Fifth Estate has been looking into racism in post-secondary education. Tonight, we're going to play you the remainder of last night's interview. Asha touches on how to make changes, explaining that some of these issues are deeply embedded and structural within some higher learning institutions.
We did want to look at the angle of the Ontario Human Rights Commissioner. We talked to the commissioner about it because she says it is on her radar. Ina Chadha says she's been receiving multiple reports of anti-Black racism on campuses, to the fact that she had to write to the province's post-secondary institutions telling them, you need to do better. This is an issue. And here's more of what she told us.
They're in fact supposed to be the ones that have some of the answers on how to dismantle systemic discrimination. And so when parents drop off their children at campuses, they think their children are going to have the world open up to them, world of education, a world of inclusivity, a world of innovation. And so there were many reports of disappointed families and children coming back to us about environments that were not inclusive, environments that were feeling toxic and unsafe.
And the commissioner said that she will now be asking each institution to prove there's adequate systemic work happening when it comes to anti-Black racism, Indigenous racism, and systemic discrimination right across the board at these post-secondary institutions. So it seems like that's greater accountability. We will be following up, looking into it. We did also speak with an expert in Calgary, Melinda Smith. She is the Vice Provost of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at the University of Calgary, the first ever. And she thinks that positions like that can help at universities and colleges. She also says that universities have done really well with other issues, such as diversity, such as equity, gender equity. But there's a large gap when it comes to racial literacy, that academic leaders need more of that. They also need policies and practices in place, and most importantly, consequences if these institutions don't address their problems appropriately. What does that look like? Could we see penalties and sanctions? I mean, according to our experts and activists, it's all on the table, but they'd like a more collective and calculated approach, and they're calling on all levels of government to do more.
Windsor's top doc anticipates the region will remain in the red zone of the province's COVID-19 framework for at least another week. The health unit reported 32 new cases today and one more death. This as Health Canada approves the AstraZeneca vaccine, which the health unit is excited to see.
It's a great news that we now will have access to a more fridge-stable vaccine that will be easier to mobilize and easier to target and to take to places where the cold chain maintenance had been an issue in the past. So we are definitely excited. We don't know what the rollout would look like.
Officials say the vaccine is safe for those 18 and older, including the elderly. It proved 62% effective in stopping infection, and clinical trials showed that the vaccine is 100% effective in stopping severe hospitalizations and death. As for local vaccinations, those 80 and older in the community are quickly signing up to get their shots. So far, more than 7,000 of them have registered for it since the health unit opened its online system yesterday afternoon.
Within an hour, we had close to 800 people already pre-registered. So we were surprised that was so quick. I think that's pretty impressive to get that many, 7,000 it's wonderful.
Seniors who have registered will be called at random to book appointments. Vaccinations will start next Monday at the WFCU Center. A $110 million class action lawsuit has been filed against Schlegel Villages. That's the company which operates the village at St. Clair in Windsor. A large COVID-19 outbreak at the facility started in December, claiming dozens of lives of residents at the home. The lawsuit alleges the company of failing to protect its residents from a mass spread of COVID-19.
The family members that have contacted us who have lost loved ones, they want answers as to why this happened, who's responsible, and how is this going to be, how's this situation going to be turned around so that no other family has to go through this ever again.
The class action lawsuit alleges that inadequate measures led to the mass spread of the virus at Schlegel Village's homes. Davidson says the suit is intended to include all residents of Schlegel Village's homes that contracted COVID-19. Plus the estates and family members of those who died because of it. It would also cover residents who suffered because they didn't get the proper level of care. The outbreak was finally lifted from the village at St. Clair yesterday. In total, it had 177 cases of the virus among residents and 143 among staff. The province says that there have been 63 deaths due to COVID-19 at the facility. And a statement from Schlegel Villages today says the entire care sector across the country has faced immense and unprecedented challenges during the pandemic. Our teams have faced these challenges and followed every guidance of Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health. We know how hard it has been for residents and their loved ones, and our deepest condolences are with those who face loss because of COVID-19. We all feel that grief for the residents that we serve. For the residents we serve are part of our family. None of the allegations have been proven in court, and the lawsuit still needs to be certified. Leamington Mayor Hilda McDonald is expressing her support for Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens. This after he said running the Isolation and Recovery Center for migrant workers isn't the city's responsibility. McDonald agrees. She wants to see more from upper levels of government. She wants answers to a letter that she and other leaders have sent the feds and the province calling for more resources. And though federal representatives have said that a number of agencies do provide oversight for the industry, McDonald is calling for more to help with the most pressing issues like quarantine.
We want oversight. If it's Canadian Border Services, whoever it happens to be, it needs to be the federal government, the people with the power to have oversight. We don't have any jurisdiction whatsoever. Now, we've been told that the police could come in and enforce rules and regulations. Our police departments are strapped at the best of times. We're not asking for that to be put on them. That needs to be done with the people that are in charge of the border. Come in and you do your job and see that people are where they're supposed to be, what the rules are. And again, there needs to be medical oversight. There needs to be people checking that these workers are fed, that if someone gets sick, they have the ability to find healthcare, they have the ability to go to the hospital. All of that needs to be done from an agency that's at arm's length. We're not saying the growers should be or the farms should be doing this. No, I don't believe that at all. I believe there needs to be an arm's length agency with some power to also force the ones that aren't doing what they're supposed to be. I don't know. I don't understand that the sound of crickets. We've lived through a bad time last year when we got left behind the rest of the province with not being able to open up. And to me, there should be notice paid. When leaders send you a letter, pay attention. They know what they're talking about. And I'm disappointed. I know the upper levels are being pummeled with vaccination issues and so on, but that doesn't mean that our issue is any less important, because we do not want to be in the same spot we were in last year. We should have learned this by this time. We should have learned we should be in a better place.
A live look at our city. We do have some rainfall on the way. Colette Kennedy will be with us right after the break with your full weather. Colette Kennedy joins us now for weather. But before we get to local weather, Colette, now we've heard a lot recently about the devastation that severe weather has caused for residents of Texas, but it's also had an impact on wildlife there. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Kat. So that historic freeze that moved in also had an impact on the sea waters and therefore the sea turtles. And it led
Oh
to,
my gosh.
yeah, they're so cute there. They're being protected here and rehabilitated because it led to the largest cold stun, nearly 5,000 sea turtles. And when they're in a cold stun, they basically are like they're in a coma. They can't put their heads up to breathe. They can't use their flippers. They rise to the surface. So these were all brought in during this event. And then the good news here, because this is a heartwarming story, is they've been helping these turtles out. Sea Turtle Inc. is one of them, but there have been many, like the college you see here of natural sciences.
That's amazing. That's
and
so
letting
awesome.
them go back into the sea. So they have now saved thousands of this 5,000. So they're getting close to really just getting those numbers back and putting them back where they belong. But a lot of this coming out of these organizations down South Padre Island and Corpus Christi as well, with the Texas Aquarium there doing that good work. Okay, mild air has come back there, and it's coming here as well. We're at 1 degree right now, and our temperature may go dipping down to 0 again like it is in Chatham-Kent, but then it will be coming up as we go towards the morning hours. Also, as we get towards midnight, this next system will be moving in. I know we're not dealing with it right now, but it is coming, and that'll start as kind of a slushy mix. Could even have a little bit of brief freezing rain before it changes over because of the rising temperature to rainfall. But look at this. This is a rain or wet event for tomorrow morning. In the afternoon, I think we're going to get some clearing, and with mild temperatures, it could end up, even though it starts wet, a really delightful Saturday afternoon. Into Sunday, another system, but I will tell you, even with Sunday, there'll be a lot more cloud cover, but the best chances of seeing rain is in the morning and then again into the latter part of the day. In between, it's sort of bookended, but in between, some drier conditions are going to be coming our way. So this weekend isn't bad. Don't let this make you think it's going to be. 1 degree then tonight as that temperature comes up. 9 degrees with enough sunshine. We may see double digits. And into Sunday, I anticipate that we will, again, not raining all day. So make your plans kind of accordingly here, and you're going to be able to enjoy a lot of this mild air this weekend. And do try to, because Monday, and especially it's going to be windy, but Monday night, cold air returns, at least for that night.
Thank you so much for all that, Colette.
You're welcome.
Now stay with us. When we come back, we'll tell you about a Leamington teen raising awareness. Stay with us. A teenager from Leamington has become one of the first Canadians selected to be a youth ambassador for the Tourette Association of America. The 14-year-old is raising awareness and speaking out about her own experience with Tourette's.
When I was diagnosed with Tourette's, I was the first one in my school, and not many of the teachers had heard of it or anything. So I tried my best to do speeches and all that, so then they would learn more about Tourette's, and it helps. I followed them on Instagram, and I saw one day that they posted about how they were doing ambassadors this year and that it would be fully online, so it wouldn't be a problem with me living in Canada. On March 3rd, I get to do Advocacy Day, where I get to talk to people in the States, like House members and representatives, and I get to speak about Tourette's and advocate and explain how it is in the community and how 1 in 100 kids are diagnosed with Tourette's. One of the biggest struggles I've overcome is just trying to change my life with it. You can't control tics. It's kind of like when you have a cough, when you have a cold and you have a cough and you're trying to hold your cough in, but you really can't. You just have to get it out, and then you cough, but then you have to do it again and again and again. It's just you can't help it. Going places and noticing that people will stare, and especially with the virus now, I could have a coughing tic and people will be like, oh, you have the virus, but really it's just I have Tourette's. And I've kind of had to overcome that struggle and overcome social anxiety kind of stuff, so then I can actually speak about it and feel comfortable talking to people about it. And I'm hoping in the future Tourette's will just be a thing everybody knows of.
Really love hearing her story. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. And we're on social media as well, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Rick Mercer Report is up next. Have yourselves a great night and a wonderful weekend.